welcome everyone. This is officially the kickoff of the Westminster Solar Co-op. My name is Paul Schmeeken. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer for the City of Westminster. I think in Westminster, we're kind of looking at 2021 as not officially as a solar year, but we're going to put a little bit more emphasis on solar energy, both for residents and businesses. So Solar United Neighbors, the co-op, is an example of something we're starting this year. Bryce, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Westminster might be the first suburb in Colorado to do a solar co-op. There have been about 4 or 5 others in Denver and Fort Collins, but I think we're the first suburb that is going through this process. Is that correct?
You're making me think about it, but yeah, I think that is correct.
Okay, great. So everybody's going to be watching us because we know there's other cities that are really interested in doing a solar co-op, including some surrounding or neighboring cities, actually. So some of the other things that are going on is that Westminster is actually working on a national certification. It's called SolSmart, and it's basically best practices that cities administer to make solar installation a lot easier around the country. So Westminster is actually certified to a Colorado-specific program called Solar Friendly Communities, and we were the first platinum level city in Colorado for that designation. We even beat out Boulder and Denver. And that really talks about how can a city make solar installation a lot easier so the costs of a permit are lower. There's very few, if no, inspections by the city inspectors on the systems. And so it really recognizes a lot of the great work the city has done to make it so much easier. And SolSmart is a national program, and it's really along those same lines. So we are going to be pursuing gold level certification. I think that would make us the 7th or 8th city in Colorado with that designation. So that's a big project that we're working on. The other thing that we're doing is that we're really trying to simplify our websites. And that includes not just the sustainability website where people can find out where they can learn about solar and what kind of rebates are available and opportunities, but it's also on the permitting side, because that's where, you know, some cities, they set the bar a little bit too high and you have a few hoops to jump through. We're trying to really cut down on the number of hoops that people have to jump through to get a permit. And so our websites are being updated, and we're kind of actively trying to promote a lot of things going on to residents. The other thing on the websites is that we know that not everybody can have solar panels installed on their house. And fortunately, there's a lot of options available in Colorado for renters or homeowners that don't have right orientation or just can't put solar panels on. So XL has programs. There's also community solar gardens that people can purchase. So we're getting all this information on the city's websites and just making it a lot easier for people, making it so much more transparent, because Westminster's already done a lot of great stuff in installing solar. We've got a lot of residents, a lot of businesses, and we think we're going to be able to do even more. And we're going to make a concerted effort in 2021 to kind of push on those issues. At this point, I'm going to actually turn it over to a couple of other speakers to make some comments. So we actually have 2 city councilors, Councilor Catherine Scully and Councilor Anita Seitz. And then after the 2 councilors make a few quick comments, I'm going to actually ask Roger Stockman from KidSpace, who's a partner of the Westminster Solar Co-op, to talk a little bit about this nonprofit program that he runs around STEM education in the schools. So first up, I'm going to ask Councilor Scully to join us and say a few words. Thank you, Catherine.
Well, thank you, Paul. This is such a privilege to be here tonight and to be able to make a few comments. Thank you all for participating in tonight's webinar. This meeting is particularly meaningful for me because I have solar panels on my house and have for many, many years. Those panels help to reduce my energy bills, improve the air quality, and promote energy independence, which I just so greatly appreciate. Westminster's been working hard to promote solar panel installations on residences and businesses, and the Westminster Solar Co-op is a great opportunity to do even more. To provide some context for you, to date, the city has permitted almost 11 megawatts of solar on residential and commercial buildings. Just so you know, 1 megawatt of solar can power anywhere from 200 to 300 homes. I mean, that's amazing. So we have enough solar panels to power between 2,200 and 3,300 homes. Westminster has almost 25,000 single-family homes. So we're well on our way to powering many of the city's buildings with solar. Tonight, we're going to learn more about another way to increase solar panel installation in the city. I believe that a strong community effort through the co-op can make Westminster a leading solar city in Colorado. That will lead to cleaner energy, cleaner air, more jobs, and lower energy bills. And those are issues that everyone can agree are really important. So thanks again for participating in tonight's event, and I look forward to the presentation myself.
Thanks, Catherine. Councilor Seitz.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mayor Pro Tem Seitz. I really am just going to piggyback on what we heard from both our Chief Sustainability Officer, Paul Schmeeken, and Councilor Scully just said. Westminster has a strong legacy of promoting solar energy in our community. We were the first platinum solar city. We have great numbers, but one of the things we consistently are looking for are ways to lower the barrier to entry, make it easier, get people the education and the information they need so they can go solar. And I think Bryce is going to tell us about other ways tonight that we can also lower that barrier to entry. I think energy's been on everybody's minds with the current events in Texas. So I think this is part of building a more resilient, clean electrical grid. So Bryce, I'm excited to hear from you. And I'm also excited to hear from you, Mr. Stockman, as somebody who has kids and always enjoys learning about ways to have deeper and richer STEM education.
Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem Seitz. Roger, you're last of the group.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. That was very kind of you. I do have kids and I love them. And so I am the owner of Kids Space. I hope many of you know it. We are in Westminster at 88th and Pierce. I'm also the founder of Kids Space Launch, which is the nonprofit arm of Kids Space. Kids Space Launch focuses on STEM education for children. We do outreach, and of course, we participate with the local STEM schools, helping to open the gateway for children into STEM career paths, which is what we're really after. I'm brand new to this committee, so really our role in this is going to help you guys market and to get the word out. As a brick and mortar business here in the city of Westminster and as a STEM education outreach, we are a free source for the city of Westminster to get the information to its citizens. We have over 47,000 people a year come through our doors, and that is the best marketing you can ever get because they are coming to us in the first place for STEM education. So they're already interested in what you are having to offer them, and we want to promote solar energy because we're big promoters of all STEM, in particular clean energy. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Roger. Bryce, the evening is yours.
Thank you, Paul.
Walk us through it.
Well, and first, Roger, I just want to acknowledge today is a big day in science with the landing of the latest rover on Mars. And while the rover itself is nuclear powered, its little helicopter, which is the first interplanetary helicopter, is solar powered. And so it's going to be exciting to watch that in the next couple of months when they start testing that to see how it can get lift in Mars's atmosphere. But
it's an amazing feat and successful landing as well. And many Colorado companies were involved in that project. So it's fantastic for everybody.
My name is Bryce Carter. I am the Colorado Program Director with Solar United Neighbors. We are a nonprofit dedicated to helping people go solar, come together, and fight for their energy rights. We have a lot of amazing partners already that we're working with here and really across the state. Again, as I said, the City of Westminster, as well as the Sustainable Westminster Program, have been amazing partners in helping us get off the ground. We're excited to launch the partnership with Kids Space and working and engaging kids. And we have some programs around their kids with our Boy Scouts program and Girl Scouts. And there's a lot of other opportunities that we can explore. Other partners include the Colorado Renewable Energy Society. And we're also partnering with Frolic as well as Cocopelli breweries, where every member is actually up to the first 50 members able to get a free beer from either one of them. So we're excited to make this fun and engage with the community. And again, you can see some of the other engaging partners that we have throughout the region as well. So this wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the support of a variety of our community partners. So to dive into everything, I'm going to go over again who we are as Solar United Neighbors, and then talk about how we got started. So as I mentioned, we are a community of people that are building a new energy system with rooftop solar at the cornerstone. As I said, we are helping people go solar, join together, and fight for energy rights. And a core principle of since we started, we were launched in Washington, D.C. in about 2007. And we understood from the onset that the benefits of solar are extremely important to many communities. And as we look at the issues involving Black Lives Matter, and we look at energy and equity, justice all around the country and globe, we know that solar needs to make sure it benefits those that are most in need. So as we run these types of programs, we're always exploring how do we include low to moderate income communities and families, and especially those are disproportionately impacted through unjust burdens. So especially the Black and Latino communities as we look in the surrounding area. So I really do want to just emphasize that as part of our program. And I'll talk about one of the ways we're looking at legislation to support that toward the end of this program. So as I mentioned, we got started in Washington, D.C. back in 2007. These two young men here, on the left is Walter and the right is Diego. They watched The Inconvenient Truth and were inspired to take some type of action. And so as they were brainstorming ways that they could get involved and make an impact, they realized that solar was a good way for them to move forward and actually make a tangible impact right at their house. So Walter did the best thing he could think of to get that done and lobby his mom, Anya Schulman, to help go solar. And she was a little hesitant, but after persistent lobbying, she finally said, okay, let's look into this. And also while we're doing this, let's see if other neighbors might be interested in going solar too. Very soon, Walter and Diego were going up and down all the stairs of all their neighbors, and they recruited 50 different neighbors to join together and look at how they can go solar together. And that was the Mount Pleasant Solar Cooperative. They very quickly learned that it was a lot more complicated than they realized. They had to understand what were their equipment like inverters, what net metering policies, what type of rebates and benefits are there, what does it mean for taxes, all those things. And when they would ask one installer, they got one answer. When they asked another installer, they got a different answer. And so through it all, they were able to work through that process. And ultimately 45 of them went solar. Now we've been able to streamline that process and grow our program significantly since 2007. We're in 13 different states across the country and have helped over 5,000 people go solar across 275 solar co-ops. In Colorado, we've already helped over 200 families go solar, including some businesses, and have installed over 1.4 megawatts worth of solar, worth about $4.5 million of local investment. So we're really excited about growing this program, and that's just in the last 2 years, and we are excited about making an impact in Westminster. So we're going to then, for the rest of this presentation, talk about solar technology, how solar co-ops work, and then go into some of the economics. So we're going to start at the very basics here. So when we talk about solar photovoltaic, it's photo, light, voltaic, power. And ultimately, solar panels, they convert solar energy to electricity. And the way it does that is it uses silicon, like small wafers of silicon, which is an element that is able to conduct electrons when photons from the sun get excited and they create generate a current. And that's pretty much the basics of the physics, is that when put out in the sun, you're creating a bunch of excited electrons that then go along wires, and then you have a direct current that then can go be captured through this junction box and then wired together with other panels. So from this one solar panel where you have this all wired together and encapsulated, then you can have multiple panels connected, and that's where you get the solar array and producing electricity. And so when we talk about electricity and solar panels, it is important to differentiate a couple terms here. First, when you're talking about kilowatts, that's the capacity of solar in terms of what it can produce. Think about it in terms of the horsepower in your vehicle. If you're going up a hill and you're flooring your engine, you're using all of that potential. That's the maximum horsepower that your engine has. Similar for solar. And in this case, this is a 3,000 watt or 3 kilowatt solar system. On a sunny day at noon, you're going to be feeling that full potential of that solar system. So it'll be about 3,000 watts or 3 kilowatts of electricity that's being produced. The electricity production in terms of energy over time is kilowatt hours, similar to miles per gallon. Basically, it's averaging out that production on the hourly level. So if you have a sunny day and you have 2 hours of full production, in this case, that would be 6 kilowatt hours worth of production. It's worth noting, though, that most homeowners only install between 2 kilowatts up to 12 kilowatts on their home. This can vary based on each person's needs. And sometimes people are just focused on offsetting a portion of their bills. So solar can be customized in a variety of ways to meet your home needs. And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. So now that you have the solar power being produced and you have this direct current, you actually need to convert that current into alternating current, which is electricity we use in our homes. And that's where an inverter comes in to be able to do that. You can either have a string inverter, which acts as an inverter for the full system, so everything gets wired to it, or you can have a microinverter where it does this conversion at each individual solar panel. Either way, they're very similar in terms of how they work. The string inverter works with optimizers, which is a small computer for every solar panel, just to make sure that they're all effectively running. So if one panel gets shaded over time, it won't slow down the host system. And ultimately, the optimizers and inverters, there are also safety mechanisms in place. So if there's any power outage, they shut down automatically to make sure that there is no electrons going on those wires as a safety mechanism. So now that you have this alternating current, it would connect to your electrical panel. And it's really often simple connection. Most homes don't need electric upgrades, but if you do have an older home, it's likely there may be some upgrades that are needed. And if that's the case, we recommend going ahead and do it. It's a safety reason. But again, there shouldn't be too much additional cost for a reason of tying this into your solar system and tying it into your home. Of course, as you're installing your solar system, there are a variety of places that it can go. So here you can see asphalt shingle roof, where the solar system itself is being installed on racking that's installed directly into the awnings of the roof. And there are a variety of attachments that are secure to the roof, especially if our high winds, as well as waterproof to make sure that there's no penetration that's going to be intruding into your roof. So they can use flashing, they can use a weighted ballast system on flat roofs, they can use standoff beams or clamps on metal roofs, and pitch pockets. So again, there's a variety of technologies that allow you to be able to install this. And then if you do have a metal roof, you may not even need any penetrations on that roof. It can actually just clamp on. And then in this example, it's a parapet to parapet roof or walls, and you can actually have I-beams across it. So again, the installer that's selected for our co-op process will be able to work with you on how evaluating what options are going to be best for your installation. And certainly, if your roof isn't a good spot for solar, if you just prefer not to have solar on your roof, you can also have ground-mounted solar if you have the yard space. And so put together, as you can see, you have the solar system that's collecting those electrons from the photons of the sun, producing that current that's converted to alternating current through the inverter. And then that electricity goes to your electrical panel, and that electricity then goes to wherever demand is highest. So if you're using a bunch of electricity in your home, those electrons are going to go straight into those devices. And if not, then it'll overflow and going into the meter, through the meter and onto the grid to help power your neighbors' homes. One of the things that Solar United Neighbors does as part of our role in facilitating a co-op process is evaluating your roof. And we do a roof review to make sure that it is a good candidate for solar. The things that we look for is making sure that there's no shading. So making sure that there are trees that are nowhere near the solar panels that are going to shade them during the year. Making sure that also there's enough space on your home and on your roof. We look for a minimum of 200 square feet of uninterrupted space. And then also which direction your roof is facing. South is the best generally for year-round production, but actually western slope is becoming more favorable because of time of use rates that Xcel Energy is going to be presenting to Westminster and installing meters going into, I think we said it was Q4 of 2022. So we'll talk more about what that means, but again, whether it's east or west or south, your system will be able to produce about the same, up to 80% same amount of solar. But again, south or southwest is going to be the most favorable. And then lastly, there are community solar options. So if for any reason you can't have solar on your property, there are a variety of places that you can set up a subscription where you'll be able to get a credit on your bill. And we do have a resource that's growing on our website if you're interested in learning more about that. Now, this is a big question, especially as we look at what's happening in Texas, unfortunately, right now, is what happens when the power goes out. If the power goes out, as I mentioned earlier, your solar system will shut off, and that is a safety mechanism. If you want to keep the power on, you need to make sure that you have a battery to maintain that power. Some reasons why you might want to consider storage is if you do have a time of use rate structure. We haven't quite crunched the numbers of what this new rate structure from Excel is going to be, but I've seen some estimates where basically some of the latest rounds of batteries can pay for themselves over 10 years, give or take, depending how they're used within a time of use structure. So we're going to continue to evaluate that and see what those economics look like. Obviously, it gets even better as prices come down and incentives go up. And certainly if you're in a rural location, if you're in a place where it has a lot of utility outages or brownouts, or if you have critical loads at home, whether it's well pumps, medical equipment, even internet servers, those are all reasons to consider getting batteries just to make sure you have resilience at your home. And then certainly there's emergency and disaster preparedness. Batteries can keep the lights on and the heat running in times of things like certainly what we're seeing in Texas again. In terms of the functionality of batteries, this is kind of two examples of how they help serve the home or business. So on the left here, you can see how it ties into a time of use structure. So at a certain period, particularly in the later afternoon or early evening, electricity prices are often increased because of higher demand. And so the battery would be able to help store electricity earlier in the day and then use that electricity during those more expensive periods of the day, which would save you more money in the long run. And then in terms of commercial companies, and we do support small commercial for a lot of our solar co-ops, there's a demand charge. So if they surpass a certain amount of electricity demand, they will pay much higher rates depending on their rate structure for their business. And so battery would be able to offset and help them avoid reaching that point of those peak charges. And then in terms of battery technology, the two main ones that we're seeing in the market right now are lead acid and lithium ion. Lead acid is lower upfront cost and it's tried and true. It's often what we have in our vehicles. It does have higher maintenance requirements and it does have a shorter lifespan of anywhere from 5 to 10 years, give or take. Lithium ion is a higher energy density. The prices are coming down, but it is still more expensive. And it has a higher lifespan of at least 10 to 15 years or so. But battery technology is changing all the time. And we do have a guide that I'll get to in a second that you can download and read more about batteries as well. And just to run through a quick example of what batteries look like. And I should pause just to note that the reason why we're talking about batteries is that this solar co-op, you can actually go solar and get batteries or get batteries, as well as get an EV charger. So you can do any one of the three or any combination of the three with our solar co-op. And so as you're looking at a battery system, with this case with the Johnson's family, they do lose their power from the utility several times a year. For their demand, they decided that a 6 kilowatt hour battery bank would work for them. One, it could be recharged fully with their solar system in a day, but it's notable that without sunshine, they will only have 1 day of power stored. So if there's a storm event or if there's lots of snow, they won't be able to produce additional power until those panels get sunlight on them again. For them, they were able to design their system to power their refrigerator and a small microwave, have some lights and outlets in their cable modem, but they decided not to run any of the power intensive stuff that they could live a day without for a day. So a stove, dryer, electric water heater, that type of stuff. It is worth knowing there is additional cost when you're talking about storage. And so this is just an example showing some example numbers. I do know in our market, we're starting to see 10 kilowatt hour batteries for $10,000. So these prices are coming down and they are becoming more accessible. And again, that's something we continue to evaluate and watch. And you can go to our website, again, solar-united-neighbors.org/storage to learn more about batteries. And I'll talk briefly about electric vehicles as well. So again, it's a great combination to be able to get your electric car and be able to power it from your rooftop. And so you can do this with the co-op process. It's fairly easy because the electrician that's going to be coming on site to install your solar, they can help wire your garage with a 240 outlet. And that's where level 2 chargers are right now. Again, it does require that 240 outlet. And typically it helps charge a vehicle about 10 to 30 miles of charge per hour. And that depends on the type of vehicle and how many amps they can pull in per hour. And there are a variety of brands and a lot of brands provide a charger, but again, you need that wall outlet to be able to power your car. And oftentimes there's a warranty of 3 years. And so when we look at just how many miles driven annually, what does that compute to for solar photovoltaic? capacity, you can see the differences here. So about 3,500 miles per for covering 3,500 miles, it's 1 kilowatt of capacity. And then there are additional costs here, but there are a variety of rebates. And so certainly we'll make sure everyone's informed of those, looking at this cost. And a lot of times with our solar co-ops, we do see rebates or discounts offered through the installers that submit through RFP. So almost wrapped up with the solar technology section here. Basically, this important concept of net metering is what ultimately allows you to produce electricity at your home and send it back to the grid. So it allows that flow of electricity to and from the grid. And so ultimately 1 kilowatt hour produced equals 1 kilowatt hour consumed. And so when you generate more, that extra electricity gets sent to the grid and you get credited for it. Now for Xcel Energy, I'll mention that if you participate in solar rewards, or if you decide to not participate, you would be able to have your credits roll over indefinitely for anything you overproduce. Or if you don't subscribe to solar rewards, once a year, you would actually get a credited check essentially of your overproduction. And that's on the average wholesale rate of electricity, which is just a couple cents per kilowatt hour. And we can talk more about those numbers in a little bit. So again, it's simply the amount of electricity used minus the amount of electricity produced, and that's how you help get your bill. So I know I covered a lot, but I'll answer a few common questions we get, and then I'd love to hear more questions from you all. First are what warranties are a part of solar, and there's 3 main ones. One is the power production warranty, which basically guarantees that your solar system, once installed, will be over 25 years. It will work no less than 80% efficient than what its nameplate capacity is. So in other words, a 10 kilowatt system for solar after 25 years at maximum capacity would be no less than 8 kilowatts worth of energy production. And there is, through the physics, a natural degradation over years. But again, that's a great warranty to just make sure that you are getting the power that you expect. Additionally, there is the manufacturer's warranty, and that's standard, oftentimes 10 to 15 years. And then there's also the installation warranty. So the installer that's on your roof and those penetrations, those are going to be warranted to make sure that your roof is protected and sealed. For homeowners insurance, oftentimes you don't see a lot of or any increase, and some actually offer a discount. If your insurance company does say that there's an increase, it might be time to shop around. Speaking from my own personal experience, my garage is detached. And so I had to increase my insurance by just a couple bucks because I was insured differently than my primary residence. Maintenance. Solar systems are generally very low maintenance. Certainly in our climate, between pollen and then the fire season, there might be accumulation to a point where you want to get a hose and wash it down. There's no need to use a lot of soap or water or anything like that. And generally through the seasons, a lot of times solar panels just can get washed off naturally. The inverter, depending on the model and the warranty, oftentimes we see inverters may have to be replaced halfway through the system's 25-year warranty. So that's something just to anticipate or to at least read about and understand as you sign up for your solar system. Now, while these warranties do last up to the power production warranty of 25 years, we do see solar systems from the 1970s that are still working. And I was actually up in Craig, Colorado, and I met someone that was really proud of his 70-watt panels that are now definitely older than me, and they're still producing for his house. So again, they last a long time, and they're just really a great technology that really has matured. In terms of homeowners associations, they have to allow by Colorado law solar on your home, but they do have a say of where it goes. So if you are in an HOA, reach out to them, let them know what you're thinking, and then work with them. We do have a guide on that if you have any questions, and we're certainly here as a resource. And there are more needs when it comes to historic district. There is more say from that perspective. Again, we're here to be a resource to help you jump through those hoops if any questions come up, as well as installers. A lot of local installers and others have a history of working with historic districts and making sure that they're accommodated. And finally, I'll wrap up just to share the quick story of our lovely hailstorm from 2017 was Colorado's most expensive natural disaster. I can't remember exactly how many billions of dollars of damage it led to, but At ground zero in Golden, where this hailstorm happened, is the National Renewable Energy Lab. And they have 3,000 solar panels out and about and vulnerable to hail. And after this crazy storm where it decimated the mall and shut it down for a year and cars were just like straight through the roof, out of all those 3,000 panels, only one was damaged. So in terms of solar, they are a very resilient product and definitely if there is any damage, that's something that could be covered with insurance. So yeah, how do the solar co-ops work? So solar co-op, it really includes a lot of benefits. It helps get the best value on your installation because it is a group process. We do see some economies of scale through savings. You receive support from us throughout that process. We vet the installers that provide their bids. We make sure that they are licensed and that they have strong referrals. And we work through the selection process, which is actually, it's our members that select the installer. It's not us as an organization. We are vendor neutral. So we really want this to be our members that are in the driver's seat. And then additionally, within our network, we help support fellow solar enthusiasts, especially post-COVID. We're excited to get back to doing happy hours and other fun events, besides just free beer, but also actually showing up to have beers together. And then also becoming part of this growing solar movement, if you would like. We are pursuing legislation, as I mentioned, and other policies to help grow solar access. And we believe that the values, as you look at distributed generation, are applied across the board when we look at the benefits of our society. So if you would like to get involved, you're welcome to. Also, if you just want to take advantage of the co-op, you can. So in terms of the timeline of where we are, we've had the soft launch with the Westminster Co-op, where our registration's been open for a couple months now. We've had, I think we're up to about 17 or so members. And I know we just got on the water bill as well, which we really appreciate with Westminster. And I think that's going to go a long way in terms of just getting people aware about this opportunity. And so as of right now, once we do hit about 30 participants, we plan to release our RFP. Looking at dates, that should be probably around the first or second week of March to release that. And then within the first couple of weeks of there, we'll get the bids back. And then by end of March or into early April, we'll host our selection committee. So any member is welcome to participate on that. They review all the bids and be able to make an informed decision. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But once the installer is selected, they'll be able to begin installs and site visits. A lot of installers are doing digital only site visits, but because of LiDAR and other technologies, they can be very accurate in estimating the solar system and designing it that way. But then from the bid from Solar United Neighbors process, each person is able to get their own contract from that pricing. And then ultimately it's up to each member to decide whether or not they want to proceed or not. It's free to participate. There's no obligation to go solar. And we're really proud of that part of this process, is we just want to make it easy for you to know what going solar means for you. But if you do sign a contract, again, we expect that turnaround to be probably within a couple months at latest, as some installers are working through backlog even from last year. And then hopefully for the summer and then into the fall, depending with COVID and everything else, we'll have a party, virtual or in person or socially distanced, whatever is appropriate by that time in the world. And so through the selection process, like I mentioned, we do provide a thorough review process of the bids, and we look at the price, the equipment quality, the warranties available, the experience of the company, whether or not they're a local company. Sometimes the value of local products is highly rated among members. Plus the members, even those that are serving on the selection committee, they also look at everyone who registers, what type of roof they have and what their specific needs are based on their application. So we're able to pull all that information together and make an informed choice for the selection process. So let's talk about solar economics. And it's pretty amazing to see over the last decade just how much more accessible solar has gotten. Costs have dropped 90% in the last decade. And that statistic just came out in the last week or two based on a variety of articles I've been seeing. Solar really is no longer a specialty or boutique item. It's something that's becoming just more and more common sense when people are looking at homes. It's similar, I think, to Energy Star in terms of how people are rating products and the value that they bring. It has an excellent return on investment. A lot of people equate it to a bond or a CD. And recently, because of the recent stimulus bill, the tax credit has been extended for the federal tax credit at 26% this year through next year. And then in 2023, it's going to actually start phasing out. down to 22%. And then by 2024, it's going to phase out completely for residential. So that's something definitely to keep in mind. And then, as you can see here, again, this is just how radically prices have come down. You can see what's driving that is particularly the system components themselves have been getting cheaper and cheaper. But what remains is high soft costs for the installer. Those soft costs are what can be in the thousands of dollars to reach out into a community, find potential leads, have quality conversations at the kitchen table, and then ultimately help them make the decision if they want to go solar and sign the contract. Again, that's thousands of dollars. So what we do as Solar United Neighbors is we facilitate this process. We do the community education and we help qualify those leads, which helps reduce those soft costs. And as part of that service, we do ask for $600 for every person that does go forward with a contract. And that allows us to do our mission. At the same time, it saves the installer money and the consumer money as well. And so we believe that's just a win-win-win situation within our model. And so, as I mentioned, the tax credit going down, this is what it's going to look like over the next couple of years. And so this is something that you'll be able to get estimated within your contract when our proposal from the installer, and the following tax years when you'll be able to then apply it. So if you're installed this year, it won't be until next year that you'll be able to get that credit back. So looking at the average cost of solar in Colorado, which is about $3 a watt, this is what you would expect for your systems to cost. It's worth noting, though, that, again, oftentimes we do see savings for our co-op process. So you probably would see a price below this, though that notably that's not always the case. Sometimes selection committees decide if they know an installer that is going to be well qualified and knows the local community, there is a value to that than just having the lowest price. So again, that's weighted throughout all those decisions. But ultimately, whether you have a 4 kilowatt or 8 kilowatt system, there is a net profit over the lifetime or the first 25 years of that system. And you can see at the bottom there, it's about $8,700 up to over $17,000, depending on the size of your system. Looking at another way, this is the darker blue is a cash offer. The lighter blue is just showing a loan along with a 15-year loan. And this is just demonstrating, again, if you have a cash offer, you get that federal tax credit back. That says 22%, but that should be back up to 26% now. And then you're looking at generally anywhere between an 8 to 10 year payback, especially with the cash offer. With the loans, that might be extended a little bit, but after about 12 years, you'll be in the green no matter your selection. And this can also vary depending, again, how you use your system. So if you have a battery or if you have an electric vehicle, your payoffs will definitely change and could even be quicker. There's also benefits if you're a business, you can actually get advanced depreciation. And I've seen some payoffs as low as 6 years for some businesses being able to take advantage of that tax tool. So as I mentioned, Xcel Energy is transitioning everybody to a time of use pricing structure. So based on the rate tariffs right now, Westminster is scheduled to, by Q4 of 2022, be converted or installing smart AMI meters at every household. And these new meters allow them to better calculate the hourly demand and supply of electricity to that home. And so the time of day pricing is basically having peak or off peak hours, and they can change by the hour, and they can also change through the seasons. And so with this rate, depending on the type of demand you're having per those hours, and Xcel actually has 3 tiers. It's off peak, shoulder, and on peak. You will get 1-to-1 credit based on each of those zones. And I'll show you some graphs that help explain this. And like I mentioned with the earlier graphs, battery storage can potentially play a role in this. I don't have all the math in place from the sun side of what that looks like, but certainly as this begins to get deployed and as people begin to install storage and we see how that rate works, we're going to be watching that very closely. And so this is effective now, but again, it gets applied to to the customers that get their meters upgraded. So the off peak on the left there, you can see summer and winter is the same. It's going to be 5.13 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's basically the time like overnight that you want to charge your electric vehicle or wash your laundry because electricity is going to be really cheap. Then the shoulder period is from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. It's going to be more expensive in the summer because of higher demand. Everyone's air conditioning units are running and other needs are going to be operating. So You have up to about 9.5 cents on the summer rate, almost 7 cents on the winter rate. And then on peak, so 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., this is the highest demand. Again, thinking about the hot summer day, everyone's coming home and, or I guess staying home with COVID, but everyone's cooking and everyone's air conditioning units are running. And so that's when electricity is going to be the most expensive. But guess what? It's also happening. The sun is out and shining, which means solar production is happening. And so this actually is very advantageous for solar users because for every kilowatt hour you're producing during this time the sun is out, you get 13.86 cents of one-to-one credit. And obviously the winter rate there you can see is lower at 8.72 cents. So looking at this another way, this is a summer rate example, what that looks like throughout the day. And really what the intention of this rate structure is to help change behavior. In the case of having a full system with solar and battery, you can actually program the battery to automatically take advantage of this market. And there's other ways, again, of just behavior, smart thermostats and everything else. And so I think we'll definitely see a lot more of that. And I imagine Sun will do a lot more education events and highlight best practices in the years ahead. And then, so with the rate structure and then looking at with the payoff of the solar system, how to make sure that you are able to secure funding and the financing to go solar. You can go through loans, either through the installer or on your own. There is a home equity line of credit that you can get. Standard loans, solar loans, and bridge loans are all options available. You can also refinance and include your solar system within that pricing. And then there are credit unions as well. We have a few that we're a member of just to give our members an opportunity to apply to, though we are finance neutral among everything else. The state also has the renewable energy, I forgot the full name, but it's the Renew program, which offers some really favorable rates for customers all across the state. In addition, you can also do third-party ownership, and we always advise people just make sure you read the fine print in those types of agreements. Sometimes if you're trying to sell your home and you're leasing your panels, you have to buy out your panels, for instance. But that's, for some people, a great option because there's no money down and you have savings while you're also paying it off from a company that's leasing it on your roof. And then in certain circumstances, you can also even apply for a REAP loan, a Rural Energy for America program loan. I'm not sure if there's any zones like that in Westminster, but again, if you have any questions about that, we're happy to talk with you about that. And if you go to solarunitedneighbors.org/financing or Colorado, we do have a document that highlights just the Colorado specific financing options that we've identified. All right, I am going to talk just for a brief moment about what's next and then with pause to wrap up and take final questions. So again, right now, the website is live, solarunitedneighbors.org/Westminster. Really to make this effective, especially in communities like suburban communities, we just need member-to-member support and outreach. In Denver, where we have a co-op that's currently wrapping up, we're doing everything from door hangers to yard signs to next door posts and everything else. And a lot of people are just really excited to help spread the word because this is a movement-based operation. It's really about the members and learning about solar. So we want to make sure the word gets out and are always looking for folks to help. And I pulled this today. So again, we're at least 17 members and our goal is at least 50. I imagine we can get that to 100 or 150 in the coming months. Our membership deadline is May 1st. So again, we're going to be reaching out into the community in the next several weeks to make sure the word gets out. And then Solar United Neighbors, like I mentioned, we advocate for solar rights. So we do a variety of petitions. We have submitted comments to the Public Utilities Commission because we want to make sure that those are producing electricity via solar are getting the full quality and benefits of that. And in particular, right now, we are also working on an initiative called Pay As You Save. If you go to this website, I did a webinar just the other week, kind of highlighting what this program is, but ultimately it allows the utility as a capital investment to invest in energy efficiency improvements, conservation improvements, and solar at your home. And what that means is that you get a new tariff, a new rate for your payment. And then you're able to save money as you're paying off your investment. So ultimately, you will be able to go solar and have these improvements without any money out of pocket in a lot of cases, as well as no credit or any debt that you're taking on either. So If you want to learn more, whether or not we're going through legislation or certainly just through awareness on the policy, this is going to be a long-term campaign that we're going to be working on. All right, that's it for me. And I would love to take questions from everybody. And again, just really appreciate the support from the city of Westminster. We're excited to be reaching out to the community and appreciate everyone being on tonight to learn a little bit more about our program.